The full cup analogy. The full cup is a profound image for the condition of the mind. When a cup is already full, pouring more into it does not increase its capacity. The new contents simply overflow. In the same way, when the mind is filled with pride, assumptions, conclusions, resentment, and the conviction that I already know, even the deepest wisdom may stand before it and still find no place to enter. But submissive inquiry is not weakness. It does not mean becoming intellectually blind or surrendering one's discrimination. It means approaching truth with enough humility to say, I may not know everything. I am willing to listen. I am willing to examine myself. I am willing to be corrected. This is the opening of the heart. In spiritual life, knowledge is not merely information transferred from one person to another. Trust must be received. The quality of reception depends upon the condition of the receiver. A radio may be surrounded by music, but if it is not tuned properly, it hears only static. Similarly, divine wisdom may be present everywhere, in scriptures, in words of the spiritual teacher, in the experiences of life, and in the quiet voice of conscience. But a restless, arrogant, or prejudiced mind may be unable to receive it. The full cup says, I already know. The empty cup says, teach me. But perhaps the deepest state is not simply to become empty, it is to become receptive. Because an empty cup can still be useless if it is turned upside down. It must be positioned correctly to receive. This is the meaning of submissive inquiry, not blind acceptance, but a sincere posture of learning. The Bhagavad Gita describes this principle through the words, approach a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Notice the order. Approach, inquire, and serve. There is a difference between asking a question to challenge and asking a question to understand. One person asks, why should I accept this? Prove to me that I am wrong. Another asks, I do not yet understand. Please help me see what I am unable to see. The words may sound similar, but the consciousness behind them is completely different. The first person is protecting an identity. The second person is seeking truth. And this is where spiritual transformation begins. Sometimes our cup becomes full not because we possess great wisdom, but because we are full of our own version of reality. We have been hurt, deceived, disappointed, used, betrayed, or even misunderstood. Gradually, we create conclusions. People cannot be trusted. Nobody really cares. I already know how this works. I have seen enough. And perhaps we have indeed seen much, but the danger is that our experiences can become walls. Pain teaches us lessons, but if we are not careful, the lessons can become a prison. We may say, I am protecting myself, while unknowingly closing the door to anything new. This is why humility is so powerful. Humility does not say, I am worthless. True humility says, I am valuable enough to continue growing. A person who believes they know everything has nowhere left to go. But the person who remains teachable can continue expanding throughout life. The spiritual seeker therefore approaches knowledge with three qualities: humility, I may be missing something. Humility creates space. The ego wants to be right. The soul wants to know the truth. Sometimes we do not listen to understand. We listen only to prepare our response. We are already forming our argument while the other person is speaking. Our mind is not receiving, it is defending. But when a person genuinely humble, we begin to listen with our whole being. We ask, what can I learn from this? What is this trying to reveal to me? Is there something here that I have not yet understood? That question alone can transform consciousness. Secondly, sincere inquiry. People, help me understand. Please help me understand. Spiritual inquiry is not passive. It is not simply believing everything without thought. A sincere question can be more spiritual than a careless belief. Arjuna himself questioned Krishna. He was confused. He was overwhelmed. He did not pretend to know. He openly expressed his doubts and asked for guidance. The important point is not that he had no questions. The important point is that he was willing to receive the answer. This is a difference between a question that opens the door and a question that is used to keep the door closed. A sincere question says, I do not understand. Help me see. The ego says, I will only accept the answer if it is agreed with what I already believe. That is a full cup. And 3, service. I am willing to apply what I learn. Knowledge becomes transformative when it is practiced. A person can hear thousands of spiritual teachings and remain unchanged if the knowledge never enters the heart and never reaches daily life. We can speak about compassion and still be cruel. We can speak about detachment and still be controlled by anger. We can speak about devotion and still be ruled by ego. Therefore, spiritual knowledge must move from the ears to the mind, to the heart, to our actions. Only then does knowledge become realization. The purpose of spiritual knowledge is not to make us feel superior to others. If knowledge makes us more arrogant, we have collected information, but we have not received wisdom. True knowledge should make us more discerning, compassionate, peaceful, and connected to the Supreme. The more we understand, the more we realize how much we do not know. This is why a genuine spiritual teacher does not create a culture of blind dependence. A true teacher helps the student develop clearer vision. The goal is not to replace one's intelligence. The goal is to purify it. The goal is not to make us incapable of thinking. The goal is to teach us how to think beyond the limitations of ego, fear, prejudice, and illusion. The full cup is often filled with me, my opinion, my experience, my pain, my knowledge, my judgment, my conclusion. But spiritual life gradually teaches us to make room for something greater. Truth beyond my opinion, wisdom beyond my experience, reality beyond my limited perception, and love beyond the demands of the ego. And this is where the metaphor becomes even deeper. The cup does not need to destroy itself in order to receive. It simply needs to recognize that it is full. The first step towards spiritual awakening is often not learning something new. It is becoming conscious of what is already occupying the space within us. What is filling our cup? Anger, fear, pride, past disappointments, the desire to be right, the belief that you already know, or is there still space for humility, devotion, compassion, truth, and the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name. Because when the mind becomes receptive, the sound of the holy name is no longer merely something we hear with the ears. It begins to touch the consciousness. And gradually, what was covered becomes uncovered. What was forgotten becomes remembered. What was dormant begins to awaken. The soul does not need to become something it is not. It needs to awaken to what it has always been. So the deepest meaning of the cup full is this: a closed mind cannot receive what it has already decided it does not need, but a humble heart, sincerely inquiring and willing to listen, creates space for wisdom to enter. And perhaps the prayer of the sincere seeker is simply, "Oh Krishna, I have filled my mind with so many conclusions. I have carried so many experiences, judgments, fears, and opinions. Please help me recognize what I am holding on to. Give me the humility to listen, the intelligence to understand, and the sincerity to apply what I receive. Empty me of what keeps me from you, and fill me with remembrance of your eternal love and service." Because ultimately, the cup is not meant to remain empty. It is meant to be filled, but with something higher. Not with ego, not with illusion, not with temporary identities, but with transcendental knowledge, devotion, remembrance, and love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.